Okay, today we're going to need this sheet that says writing equations using a point and a slope. So we are going to write equations today without looking at a graph. We're going to be able to look at a point and a slope of the line, and we're going to be able to calculate the equation of that line. And to do that, there is something that's called point-slope form. Okay, this is one of those equations you're going to have to memorize. So point-slope form is this: y minus y sub 1 equals m multiplied by the quantity x minus x sub 1. Okay, so this is the basic equation that we use. All right, so if I look to see how that's applied to number 1, on number 1, our point is right here, 5, 3. There's a line that goes through 5, 3 and has a slope of 8/5. And they want you to write that line in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to start off with, and that's x sub 1, that's y sub 1, just because that's the only point that's listed. So if I use this formula, the y always goes in front, minus y sub 1, in this case it's 3, equals, we know that m stands for slope, and here they tell us the slope is 8/5. So 8/5 multiplied by the quantity, and we have x minus x sub 1, and that's going to be a 5. Okay, so that's my equation in point-slope form, but the directions are write it in slope-intercept form. So we need to convert this so we have y by itself. Okay, to do that, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this 8/5 into that parentheses. So the y minus 3 comes down, equals 8/5 times x is just 8/5 x. And then 8/5 times negative 5. Well, I know what happens with this because you got written like that, negative 5 over 1. Your 5s are going to cancel out. So that's technically a negative 1. So that's going to leave you with negative 8. Okay, last step, you need to get this y alone. So we'll just add 3 to both sides. And that cancels. So you get y equals 8/5 x minus 5. That's my final answer in slope-intercept form. Again, we started with the point-slope form, we plugged it in, and then converted it to slope-intercept. Okay, let's try number 2. So number 2, that's x sub 1, y sub 1. So again, use the formula, y minus y sub 1, our y sub 1 is negative 2, equals m, so 2/3, times the quantity x minus x sub 1, and that's negative 4. Okay, so in this case, when our values are negatives, you're going to have a double negative situation going on here. So again, that's just a positive. That's going to make a positive because of the double negative. And then we're going to distribute. Okay, so then I have rewrite y plus 2 equals 2/3 x. And then 2/3 times 4, that's not going to come out to be a whole number. Right now, I'm just going to leave it as improper. So 2/3 times 4 over 1 is going to be 8/3. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract 2 to both sides. And when I subtract 2 over here, I'm going to, because this is in fraction form, I'm going to go ahead and convert that to a common denominator. So it's 3, and I know that's going to have to be minus 6 over 3, which represents negative 2. Okay, that cancels. We get y is equal to 2/3 x, and then 8/3 minus 6/3 gives you positive 2/3. So if I was to graph this line, it would go through the point negative 4, negative 2, and it would have a slope of 2/3. All right, number 3. So that's x sub 1, y sub 1. So it'd be y minus 2 equals 4/9 times the quantity x minus 4. Okay, go ahead and distribute. So we have y minus 2 equals 4/9 x. Keep that as improper right now. 4/9 times negative 4/1 would be negative 16/9. Okay, then I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And if I add 2 over here, convert that to a common denominator. So that's going to be 18/9. 18 divided by 9 is positive 2. So we're going to be adding that to there. So that's going to cancel out. Y equals 4/9 x. Negative 16/9 plus 18/9 will give you a positive 2/9. Okay, last one together, number 4. Starting off, x sub 1, y sub 1. So y minus negative 5 equals, my slope is negative 9/2 times the quantity, x minus x sub 1, which is 3. Okay, so I'm going to change that to a positive. We're going to distribute this. Y plus 5 will drop down. Negative 9/2 times x, negative 9/2 x. Negative 9/2 times negative 3. That's going to be a positive 27/2. And then we're going to subtract 5. Subtract 5. I'm going to convert now to have a common denominator. So when I subtract 5, that's really minus 10/2. Okay, so that cancels. You get y equals 9/2 x. And then 27/2 minus 10/2 is going to be 17/2. So plus 17/2. And it's okay if you leave this as improper right now, because I think some of the answers for the y-intercept might be improper. Remember, slope we always leave as improper. But 17/2 or 8.5 is fine. Okay, number 5, you go ahead and do. Number 6, 7, 8, number 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14.